to start off, can you tell me a little bit about Peter Elders? Who is he? Personal background, professional background, hockey background, whatever is relevant to you. Who is Peter Elders?
Yeah, hello, nice to meet you. So the personal Peter is a family man with two children, two grandchildren, and the third on the way. So that's the most important thing. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you. Professionally, I work as a manager in a hospital
Mhm.
until the end of the year, and then I will stop. And I'm manager of facility services, so not a doctor, but the manager.
Mhm.
And then the hockey Peter is like everyone. I started as a player.
Mhm.
Well, if you want to describe grassroots hockey player, look at me. Uh, So and then I was 18. I turned to umpiring, and thanks to the umpiring, I did many international matches. I had over 100 international matches.
Cool.
I was umpire at Europeans, World Cup, Olympics,
Mhm.
and when I retired, I thought I want to give back to the younger generation that experience because I had a very great time. So I was a TD, I was a board member, and I've been in the hockey rules board for 10 years. So
Mhm.
ask me question about rules. You got an expert. So I joined the EHF board 6 years ago.
Mhm. Okay, cool. Still playing hockey yourself?
Now, due to the umpiring,
Yeah.
I didn't have time,
Yeah.
and no, and I never picked it up again.
Okay, cool. Well, even as an umpire, you know that before every game we need a good warm up. So let's finish up this warm up question with a second warm up question before we really dive into the content of our talk here. So let's do a quick lightning round of questions to finish up our warm up, where I ask a quick question and expect a quick answer, just one name, one phrase, very quickly after the question. Best goalie,
Ha. Um, Vincent van Asch,
cool. Best midfielder,
Sander Waard,
best striker,
um, I see so many goals and then no reply.
okay, yeah. Best team,
Germany for what they did at the World Cup.
yes. One specifically for you, the best umpire.
Uh, I go for two talents who I saw in Ghent last year, do the final of the under 21 ladies.
Hmm.
Sandra Adel from
Okay,
Spain and Lorraine de Kraker from the Netherlands.
okay, cool.
Great.
And best umpire ever?
There are many great names. One of the names is Santiago Deo. One of them is Louis Gillet. Um, so I will not choose, but they are among the top five
What's the best tournament that you ever saw?
that ever saw.
Yes.
Not a tournament. The greatest match I've participated in is always Pakistan versus India,
Haha, yeah, spectacle, spectacle.
especially when you play that match in Pakistan or in India.
Exactly, I can imagine. I can imagine. Uh, Again, the next two are specifically for you as a former umpire. What's the best rule in hockey
Self pass.
and the worst rule?
Ah, the aerial ball and the landing of the aerial ball. You cannot explain it, and the top is playing it different than the grassroots. It's an awful rule.
Yes, agree there. Agree. What is the biggest threat for hockey?
Danger, the danger at the penalty corner. If we do not solve that, then we get into problems.
And the biggest strength of hockey?
Oh, um, family sport, the clubs, the fact that men, women, children all play together.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so we've gone through our warm up. Let's start the real game of this talk here. Um, you're running for president at the EHF, the European Hockey Federation. Why do we have an EHF? How does it work? And what are its core tasks?
Why? Because as a group, we are stronger than individuals. So we have 42 members in Europe, and EHF is their voice, their coach, um, their consultant. So we combine the voices of those 42. And why is that important? Because I think EHF should be strong, Europe should be strong, and in that strength, we can work together with the FIH. And yeah, that's it. And within the EHF, the bigger countries help the smaller countries, and the smaller countries share ideas. But you can only do that if you have a good cooperation.
Mhm, mhm. What do you consider really the core tasks of an EHF in the day-to-day operations?
Oh, day-to-day operations, it's a small team. It's only 7, 8, or 9 people. So it's different than the association in the Netherlands, but also bigger than the association in Croatia or Lithuania. They organize tournaments, they organize training sessions, and a lot of time is put into development, sharing ideas, and getting a bondage between the countries.
Okay, cool. Should you get elected in August, what will be your priorities for the year one of your presidency? What changes, what stays, and what might distinguish you?
Um, what stays? I think a lot of things go very well. Like the Equally Amazing program is really had a lift off, and there was a good program that fit within the big countries, but also in the smaller countries where equally amazing is not the natural thing. So that's good. I think we did a lot of work with EU funding. Tom Peterson found an entry at the EU to work together with nations, and he realized a lot of money. So that's a very good thing. At the other end, I think what we can improve. We have been fighting the FIH for the last 6 or 8 years, and frankly, we did never win one of those fights, and it has troubled our relation. And I think that's should be one of the key items, um, because I think Europe should be strong, and a strong Europe should be part of the FIH to make hockey stronger in the world. So join them, not fight them, and for the rest, it's development, development, development.
Okay, cool. Um, how can the EHF give a voice to the club's interests? Because we've seen in recent years that in most European countries, clubs at the competitive level have come together in separate organizations because they were feeling that their NAs, their national associations, have to serve two masters with international hockey and with domestic hockey. So, how can we make sure that clubs have a say when decisions are made that influence their existence?
Yeah, you say that it is in most countries. I'm not sure about that. I think you see different scenarios in the top countries,
Hmm.
with strong competitions. What I see is that there is not one image, because in Germany they organize it differently than maybe in Holland or in Belgium. First of all, EHF is a group of nations, but so we serve the nations, but we should always keep an eye on the clubs, because the result should be we play good matches, competitive matches, earn money, and the money we spend on the smaller events, and the money we earn we should spend in development, because the top is nice, but it's like a Christmas tree. You need a nice peak on the tree, but people never look at the peak. They look at the beauty of the tree. So we should be careful not to focus only on the top.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, if we look at the FIH, you mentioned that we've been fighting them for the last couple of years, and I agree there. And obviously that is not a good situation. But if you look at the focus for the FIH, and you can correct me if you have a different opinion in this, the focus for the FIH globally is to grow the number of followers for hockey. And contrary to the FIH, I believe that one player will create 10 followers, but you need at least 100,000 followers to create a new player. So I believe that the focus for federations, national federations, continental and the global one, should be on growing the number of players. So what should EHF, or what can EHF do to grow the number of players in all categories, both in the established countries and in the, let's say, developing countries?
Yeah, but let me start by saying, Ans, I agree. Um, I don't know about the 100,000, but basically your thoughts, I agree. I think FIH has focused too much on numbers of spectators, and we should focus on the numbers of players. And then if you have good players, then automatically people start watching. So I agree. And then if you um, think in my line of the Christmas tree, I think the good players that will create more views come from the top countries. But the growth comes from the grassroots and from the bottom of the Christmas tree. And in the top countries, I think there are possibilities to vary in types of hockey. Like we have now the hockey five, we have the indoor hockey. Maybe some of the countries it is hockey eight. For them, it is, I think, the flexibility in products could help them. The youth of today doesn't look at a fixed format for the next 22 weekends, but needs variations.
Mm-hmm.
So for the countries where hockey is not so popular yet, that's just get them playing, get them the surface to play. And on in some countries, they have hardly a hockey pitch. I spoke to no, I was in Bulgaria where I saw the semifinals of their championship being played on a second-hand pitch, which had been donated by a Dutch club, and in Holland they didn't want to play on it anymore, and in Bulgaria it was good enough for their semifinals. So I think on those in those countries we should help them in get their equipment ready, get their pitches ready, and then advise them give them examples of how they can grow. And in some countries, it is schools, and the others is a different view.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
the top, the peak, and the bottom are different approaches.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, it was similar to that. In most of Europe, I believe that we have a very different idea about the purpose of sport from other regions in the world, and even Western Europe from Eastern Europe are pretty different in that. Um, uh, in the US, you play hockey to get a scholarship to pay for your education. In countries like England, and I'm exaggerating a little bit now, but yeah, you play hockey because it is a course that they give at school, like math or geography. And in countries like India, Pakistan, you play because it is your profession. Someone is paying you to play, and if nobody is paying you to play, you don't play hockey. A little bit exaggerated, but in growth in Europe, in Western Europe, we have recreational hockey, and we believe that it is somewhere where we meet up with our family and our friends, and it is something that we do to network, and it's something that we do because we believe it is a part of education of our children, and I believe and something that is contributing to a healthy lifestyle. Um, but in other countries, they have different ideas about the purpose of sport, the why of sport. So how do we prevent that development becomes just about creating national associations with a few employees to get government grants and without a real plan to set up a league or grow the number of hockey players?
Oh, by putting sports people leading those associations. Yes, I agree. In some of the countries, it's more directed by the government. Um, but as soon as you have hockey people talking about hockey, um, then you get the energy and which can work in any system. And in some countries, it goes faster than in others. Like so that's why I advertise. Let's not focus on one sport. Let's focus on let's make it variable. Hockey 11, hockey 5, ID hockey, indoor doesn't matter as long as as they play. And yes, that's why I really think if you have a sports person, a hockey person leading the group, it works. Well, that's why I raised my hand.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, cool. You mentioned fives. And I am not a big fan of fives. I think that is pretty vocal about being not a fan of them. But what would
Mhm.
you consider to be the added value of hockey fives when we already have a short format with our six-a-side hockey? Okay, we call it indoor hockey, but you can play it outdoors as well. So, and would you
Okay.
accept it that fives becomes the Olympic format and replaces 11v11? And if not, how can we prevent that from happening?
No, no, no. Okay, you have many questions in one phrase.
Yes.
And first of all, I was in the room where Hockey 5 was created, and that was 10, 12 years ago.
Mhm.
We worked on the rules, and when we made as a rules board the rules for this, first of all, it was not called Hockey 5. So the 5 makes it more difficult. Make it hockey small or whatever, but the 5 makes it difficult to change. When we created the rules, it was very flexible. We said, play wherever you want, artificial, grass, clay, doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Play with 5 or 6 or 7.
Mhm.
Um, but what happened then, it was adapted for the Youth Olympic Games, and the rules were fixed. Those
Mhm.
rules were never meant to be fixed for 10 years.
Mhm.
So if you say we have hockey 6 indoor, I agree. Ideally, we should work on a version where indoor and outdoor have a six-a-side version, and that only the roof is the difference,
Yes.
and make small difference, maybe lift the ball indoor a bit, and don't hit the ball in hockey 5. Yes, but it's we make life a lot easier if the two versions look more like each other. But
Hmm.
that's it's the FIH who makes the rules.
Hmm.
And by being strong, we are in Europe a very strong indoor nation. If we have a good voice in the FIH, we can move the whole body into a new direction. But
Hmm.
you don't like, you say you're not a fan of Hockey 5, but you're from a country where hockey is very popular.
True,
Um,
and I don't mind hockey fives either, if it is used as a development tool. For me, create
yeah,
hockey fours, hockey threes, hockey six, hockey whatever. If it's used as a development tool, in you don't have enough players at that moment. Just play 5 against 5, play 6 against 6, 8 against 8. I don't care. I have a problem with it when it becomes a competitive format at the international level, because now I
yeah,
see it as a real threat to our 11v11 game at the Olympics. I understand IOC has a problem with hockey because we take up a lot of space in the Olympic Village. We have a lot of athletes. We are there for 2 weeks for only 2 medals with big teams, and that is something that IOC is also looking at. Yeah, what's the return of investment?
yeah. We must be careful that we are not copying a story that was actual 10 years ago. 10
Hmm.
years ago, hockey was in danger for the Olympics.
Hmm.
Now, for the next 4, 8, 12 years, hockey is not in danger. Hockey 11 is not in danger. That doesn't mean we will never be in danger, but for the next 3 Olympics, we're not in danger. Um, and yes, in theory, we could go the way of like in basketball, with the basketball 3, but I think until then, let's focus on Hockey 5 as a development and an excitement game, and
Hmm.
not replacing Hockey 11,
Hmm.
but being an extra version. Like indoor hockey is an extra version, like ID hockey is an extra version.
Hmm. Oh, okay, great, great. Another novelty or another idea that FIH is pushing recently, and even since a couple of years, and I think this is an idea where we are all uh, behind the same idea. We all support this idea. Is the idea for dry turf?
Yeah,
So the FIH has said we want to have a non-irrigated pitch as of the World Championships in 2026. So that is around the corner. That means that for a competitive level, we need these pitches to be available at the end of 2024, beginning of 2025 at the latest, for teams to adapt to a new game of hockey. Um, what changes would be acceptable to our sport at the competitive level for a dry turf to become the norm by 2026? Or what would not be acceptable and maybe a reason to delay if the field is not ready, the
yeah,
technology?
yeah. You touch a lot of items where I feel about. First of all, you say the non-water pitch. We need a non-water solution due to the environment. Um,
Hmm.
we need that for our youth. So,
Hmm.
out of we cannot afford to put drinking so much drinking water on the pitches. But we can only afford, for me, for 2 items. One, it has to be safe, but maybe more important, it has to be affordable. Because I had a talk with, um, I'm head of the development committee for the EHF, and we had a talk with the president of the hockey in Croatia, and he said, Peter, since the introduction of the water-based pitch, hockey in Croatia did not grow because we cannot afford the pitch. And the only result was that the better teams became even more good, so even better. And so the gap between the great nations and the smaller nations became bigger. And I think we should be very careful for that. The hockey is not benefited by a small top and nothing else. We need
Agreed.
a big. So when last week, as you know, in Holland there is a test turf,
Yes.
and people are playing and look at how does the ball bounce and what do we do with sliding tackles. Well,
Don't
we can imagine,
do them.
like yeah, like on the sand-based pitch, don't do it.
Yeah.
And if you do it, go to the doctor.
Yes.
But for me, actually, more important is what are the costs? Are, is the manufacturer able to have a non-water pitch at an affordable rate? Because if we achieve that, then we have double points. Then the environment will help us because governance will invest in clubs or countries for an environmental okay pitch. But Croatia, Bulgaria, Lithuania need those pitches too.
Yeah.
And yes, then maybe some of the techniques will not be possible anymore. But we're not used to taking out some techniques. We've introduced them. We have introduced the aerial ball, and then we saw beautiful goals of people with a high stick, and then we said, okay, let's allow high stick. And we're not used to saying, okay, but this is too dangerous, and that is we. If I had a choice between a sliding tackle and a better environment, sorry, I know which option I will choose.
Okay. So do you think that it is realistic that we will be playing a World Cup in 2026 on some kind of a non-irrigated turf?
I think if we now tell the manufacturers 26 is flexible, their R&D department will have a long weekend. So we must really try to have the 26 World Cup ready with a well-tested, safe, and good pitch. Yeah.
Okay. The best tournament that was added to the calendar almost 15 years or more than 15 years ago now is the EHL, the Euro Hockey League. Around the world, they all envy us that tournament because it has created some spectacular, legendary moments for all hockey fans around the world. Not even in Europe only, but really around the world. But the EHL is under pressure. There are calendar issues, and obviously there are financial issues. We've been very lucky to have been supported by one of the Dutch banks who's been a great supporter of our sport for many years. But yeah, sponsors come and go, even if it makes sense to have a long relationship. You have to anticipate that at a given moment that will be over. So with the financial pressure and the calendar pressure, how do we secure the existence of this wonderful EHL?
Yeah. The EHL used to be the European League or the European Cup or whatever. So Europe Cup version 1.
Yes.
And among one of the inventors was Maurits Hendricks, who created a lot of excitement. It was training camp for new rules and things like that.
Yes.
So it has become great. And like you said, we got very good sponsors, but we are now very dependent on those sponsors. And yeah, we want to want to have a great party, and now we realize great party costs money.
Yes.
I'm not so worried about the agenda. The agenda, because we choose to have so many clubs involved. We need two days of availability, 2 periods of availability per club. So one in October and one around Easter. There are not very many other tournaments in Easter, so it's not the agenda concern. But we want to have 3 Belgians, 3 Germans, 3 Spanish teams competing. Yeah, well, if we want that, then we need playing days. And yes, we have to be very careful with our greatly esteemed sponsors, and we have to give back a product with what they can show to their customers. And it's always a tense relation. The times of give me your money and I'll decide what to do with it are over. So that's the new life.
Final question then for you maybe is a simple question. I've had a lot of long questions here. This is a pretty simple one, but maybe not so simple to answer. Why should the national associations select you as their president for the EHF?
Nice question. Thank you. Now, I really believe it helps to have a sports person, a hockey person on that chair. And by saying that, I mean I've been on the pitch and on the side of the pitch for the last 30 years. I've been in each and every tournament you mentioned, so I know what the volunteer thinks and what the umpire and the official and the players thinks. That helps. Second thing is I know my way around in FIH, and I think hockey in Europe will really benefit from a better relation with FIH. And then it helps that I've known the FIH president for 30 years. I've been in the Hockey Rules Board for 10 years, so that helps. But the third, and maybe most important, I've got development written all over me. I've been 6 years chair of the development committee, and the development is the key for hockey in Europe. Full stop.
Okay, cool. Is there anything that I forgot to ask you? Or a topic that you want to address?
Oh, that's nice. No, I think you touched a lot of things. I think we forgot to talk about the youth and what youth could add to hockey. And yes, it is interesting for a person with almost 3 grandchildren to talk about the youth. But one of my ideas is I want to, as a president, I want to have a youth panel very, very close to me. Ask them and provoke them to give ideas, to work on the ideas, because I think the administration of hockey in Europe should not be left to board members only. It's really, we should look at the future. I mentioned the 2 umpires. If you see them and see the possibilities, we should invest in those people.
And listen to those people.
Yes, we should listen to them and be brave and accept testers or trials. I very much like a phrase of, I think, President Roosevelt, who said, the message to the youth: reach for the stars, but keep your feet on the ground. And that's it. Let's provoke the youngers, and youngers is, well, under 30. Let's provoke them to come with new ideas, test them, and prove that they're right.
Mhm. Cool answer to end this talk with. So, Peter, thank you very much for your time and sharing all of your insights with us to give a little bit of a view behind the scenes of what's happening at the EHF as well. Best of luck with the elections, and yeah, we'll
Thank
see
you
each
very
other
much.
around the hockey pitch, one at Mönchengladbach probably, and others
I'm
for
sure.
sure.
I'm sure. Thank you, Ernst.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.